Let's begin with the biggest game of the day. And I'm extra happy about this one because I saw it coming, although I was nervous about it for most of the game. I thought the Steelers would go to Baltimore and win. There's something about this Steelers game. And big picture, let's start it at 10,000 feet, as the cool kids like to say, and then work our way down. What's your biggest takeaway from the outcome of the game?
My biggest takeaway from the outcome of the game is, I mean, if Lamar Jackson is not careless with the football, the Ravens are going to win the game easily. I mean, that would be my biggest takeaway. The game itself was controlled by Baltimore. To me, again, and I know we haven't, we're watching a lot of games and doing all that, but I thought they were clearly the better football team on the field. Now, I'm not trying to take anything away from Pittsburgh or anything like that. I'm giving them credit. I know Blitzburgh, that's what they do. They cause turnovers, do those type of things to help their football team. But I still think, the big questions with Baltimore are there, too, within that. I think Baltimore was a better team. Yeah, I think Lamar Jackson really wrapped a few, turnovers and points for them altogether. And we're still going to have questions about Lamar when they have to pass, and it's a passing down. Can he overcome those situations? And I think that's still a real question.
Well, and one of the questions I have, big picture, as it relates to the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. We've heard complaints about teams like the Browns that can't beat good teams. The Ravens, for as good as they are against the above average to the bad teams,
right,
you rarely see them stub their toe in a game they should win. And Lamar Jackson's regular season record is phenomenal. But he's now 0-3 against the Chiefs, which he has called the team's kryptonite.
Right.
He's 1-1 against the Steelers. And the win last year has a Big Ben-sized asterisk next to it because Roethlisberger wasn't there. And they barely won it in overtime. If Marlon Humphrey doesn't punch the ball out of Juju Smith-Schuster and the ball stay in bounds, the Ravens may have lost that game. Look at these numbers from 2 appearances with Lamar Jackson against Pittsburgh. And I'm glad we started banging this drum last week because it ended up being somewhat prescient. Sacks, 5 the last time, 4 yesterday. Turnovers, 3 in Week 5 of the 2019 season, 4 yesterday. That's not good. And so if the Chiefs are the kryptonite, I don't know. I mentioned this last night. I don't know the Superman trivia enough to figure out what the Steelers are. But there's got to be something else that bugs Superman beyond kryptonite, and the Steelers are it.
Yeah, well, they got a lot of the pieces to, bother Superman in this case, certainly. I mean, I think, hey, their front seven, the way they fly around, that is always going to cause problems for anybody, let alone a guy like Lamar Jackson, who, yes, is going to tote the line of, holding the football, or I might make a cutback here, even though I see there's defenders coming and it could be dangerous, but I'm going to go for it and try to cut reverse field here, 20 yards, whatever that is. The Steelers are big, they're physical, and they do rely on this style of football, definitely. But when you talk about Lamar Jackson, pick 6 to start the game, then the interception to start the second half, which leads to jump-starting the Steelers' offense, who could do nothing at that point, absolutely nothing. Everybody, go look at the stats of the first half of the Ravens-Steelers game. The game is dominated by the Ravens. Then, so there's 2 interceptions. Then the fumble as they're down in the red area, right? Dancing around the 10-yard line or so, Mike. The game's 7-7. They turn the ball over. They leave 7 points on the board, or at least 3 points on the board right there. I mean, they stop Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh punts it back. They drive right down. Pittsburgh never really stopped Baltimore all day long. But they have playmakers, and that's why you sign big money playmakers, because they make big plays in big moments, and we saw that yesterday from them.
Yeah, if you had told me before the game the Ravens would have 265 rushing yards, I would assume the Ravens would have won the game 31-10 or something like that, but that wasn't the case. Let's hear from Lamar Jackson on his mistakes, and from Mike Tomlin, the Steelers coach, on the fact that the Steelers don't fear the 2019 MVP.
The turnovers, I feel, is the reason we lost the game. I put that on me. The start of the game, the first drive, a pick 6. Then we drive to the red zone, a fumble. Got to get the ball out quick because we know they're dominant up front. And then a pick off the player from the flat, throwing at the mark. Got to clean those up, and I feel we won that game. So that's all to it.
You don't expect Lamar Jackson make those kind of interceptions? How big was that to change the momentum?
We have respect for him, but we don't fear him. And so, we're not surprised by anything that transpires.
Hey, Mike Tomlin. No. But that's the thing.
Yeah.
If you are in awe of a guy, you've already lost. They are not in awe of Lamar Jackson. And the other thing is they are not afraid to hit a quarterback who becomes a running back.
Right.
And I asked Minkah Fitzpatrick about that after the game. It comes from the coaching staff. And this is in an era where we see defensive players get hesitant when the quarterback becomes a running back, and for good reason, because the flag pops up in the pocket for the officials when you hit a quarterback the same way you'd hit a running back. Lamar Jackson drew a foul yesterday at the sideline that if it was a running back, if it was Mark Ingram, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, that flag's not coming out.
You're right. There's no way.
But it came out because it was Lamar Jackson. But the Steelers don't care. They'd rather – and this is a more artful way to make the point than I made it back in January and pissed off all the Chiefs fans – the Steelers would rather just go play football. And if it means that the official may throw a flag because it's a quarterback and not a running back, they don't care.
Right.
If he becomes a runner, we're going to go tackle him, and we're going to hit him, and we're going to make him think twice about running again. Now, Minkah Fitzpatrick said other quarterbacks, they start to slide more quickly. They start peeking around. Lamar Jackson isn't affected by it. But you have to wonder whether or not getting hit and getting rattled and always being concerned about that Steelers defense at some point contributes to the mistakes he made.
Yeah, no, I mean, yes, it does. And, again, that goes into, hey, it's Baltimore, it's Lamar Jackson. You heard him refer to, down in the red zone. I can't hold the ball like that. We know they got a dominant pass front. This to what you said, Mike, the Steelers not being afraid or intimidated. That is certainly an aspect. Most teams who play Baltimore lose the fear intimidation factor and the Lamar Jackson off factor, within the first few drives of the game. The first few times he goes zoom, 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 and up the middle and all around the edge and throws a pass, they're like, oh my gosh, Baltimore's amazing. We can't beat them. Pittsburgh, they're not going to get that. And especially not in that type of game. I mean, first off, with that game right there, there's more alphas, badass mofos, okay? Sorry for my language there on a Monday morning, all right? I just wanted to tote the line a little bit. But more in this game than you'll find any other game all year as far as big physical people. And you have to adjust your game when you play in games like that to where even a guy like Lamar Jackson, as gifted as you are, right, Mike? He's got to rein it in a little bit to just go, wait, this is a different beast I'm playing this week. This is not, the Cleveland Browns or some of these other teams where I can just run circles around their linebackers and their safeties. You hold the ball, you make a mistake against the Steelers, TJ Watt, Dupree, to it, they're coming and they're going to force an issue. And I think Lamar, maybe he can build on that aspect next time around to just have a feel for the intensity, speed of their defense to where he can maybe be better. But he certainly was the big issue yesterday.
Yeah, and it still came down to the last play of the game.
Right.
And if Lamar Jackson makes a better decision with the football, maybe gets Minkah Fitzpatrick to commit the way that Fitzpatrick thought that Jackson was going to go. Fitzpatrick told me after the game that when they broke the huddle and he saw to his left Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews, he thought it was going to come to Andrews up the slot. And Lamar Jackson looked that way, and Fitzpatrick was watching that way. But then when it pivoted back to the other side, that's when Fitzpatrick broke up the pass intended for Willie Snead. And John Harbaugh, I think he was suggesting not necessarily interference, but blow to the head of a defenseless receiver, right? Because even if you don't go helmet to helmet, you still can't strike a receiver in the head or neck area with your forearm, with your hand, with your shoulder, with anything while he's in a defenseless posture. That flag wasn't coming out in that spot, not on that play. It wasn't egregious. It would have to be you flatten the guy, you Jack Tatum the guy with your elbow. I mean, you do a clothesline or something like that before that flag's coming out.
Definitely.
So, yeah, Mike, but it was a great play.
He touched the ball first. That's what we've lost track of that rule in that as far as ball downfield.
You're still defenseless. You're still defenseless if you touch the ball first.
Okay, well, I'm
not talking about interference. I'm talking about defenseless.
I know, but
the
guy is not. He's making zero play to hit the guy. He actually is going to play the ball completely, and he touches the ball before the offensive guy does. So to me, I'm trying to accentuate the point a little bit to where, I don't think John Harbaugh can ask for that call there, like you're saying. It wasn't a launch. It wasn't somebody trying to hit somebody. It was truly two people trying to play the ball.
But we've seen questionable calls get made.
I know.
In an effort to protect players, but usually it involves a helmet of a defensive player, not the hands. And you're right, Fitzpatrick did touch the ball first. There was no question about pass interference, though. It wasn't, in part because he touched the ball first. This is about being struck in the head, and it wasn't nearly severe enough to get that flag. So the Steelers win. And look, the Steelers, even though they're perfect in the win-loss column, it really was far from perfect. We mentioned 265 rushing yards. Time of possession, out of whack. I mean, the Ravens did outplay them. I don't know how you feel about this. Look at this, 221 total yards for the Steelers, 457 for the Ravens. 48 rushing yards for the Steelers. If you show me that without showing me the final score, I say, as I said earlier, 31-10.
Right.
That's what's amazing to me, that the Steelers found a way to win this game. But you know what? That's what great teams do. That's what teams do when they're having a special season. They find a way in the one stat that matters. All the rest of it doesn't matter. Points scored versus points allowed is all that matters, and that's their focal point, Chris.
No, you're right, and that's why they are masters at finding playmakers on a defense, offense, whatever that may be. Hey, it's a tough game. The scheme's not going to always deliver. At some point, you need some guys that can make some plays in some big moments that can, surpass what the scheme has to deliver for you, and you can make the plays. And, you bring up that stat sheet again, too, Kristen, if you don't mind, in the back there. Another thing, too, that I think is we got to stop this, because this is a part of football. If you see the total yards there, we saw Pittsburgh 221 yards. Look at the 9 penalties for 110 yards. To me, that should go almost onto the total yards of Pittsburgh, too. Big Ben did a great job of taking some shots downfield to create some pass interference calls, which were also part of those, yards as far as helping the Steelers out. But, Mike, I ask you this, all right, going forward, right, because this was a great game. It was really close. There's two ways to look at this. One, you could be Baltimore and go, okay, we messed this up, right? We outplayed them, and we made turnovers. We won't do that next time. We're going to beat their butt. Pittsburgh can also look at it and go, we didn't play good, and we kind of figured it out in the second half, especially offensively, because once they kind of got jump-started, all of a sudden Big Ben and them, they figured out how they wanted to attack Baltimore. And who do you think has the advantage going next time around, where Pittsburgh can go, yeah, we got outplayed, but we still won, and we can play better? Who do you think has the edge in that, as far as that psychological aspect there?
Well, it's a great question, and I'm not punting on it, but the thing we have to keep in mind, both teams need to forget about it for now, especially the Ravens, Chris, because they got the Colts. Yeah. They got the Patriots. They got the Titans before the game on Thanksgiving night in Pittsburgh, which you'll see on NBC. I mean, think about that. They got to play the Titans, the team that beat them in the playoffs last year, on Sunday.
Yes.
And then Thursday night of that week, play the Pittsburgh Steelers. So they should not think about the Steelers at all until after that Titans game ends. They already know what to do. I think if you're the Ravens, your mindset is, let's just go do what we did.
Yeah.
And surely all those breaks won't go their way, and surely we'll have an officiating crew that won't give 110 yards to the Steelers. And if we just go play the way we played, except for the turnovers, if we just go do what we did, it'll work out this time.
Yeah.
It just was a fluke that we lost the last time, and they're going to be desperate. I mean, look, now the Steelers could all of a sudden start losing game after game after game, but as of right now, they've got a 2-game lead, plus they hold the tiebreaker. If they would end up winning the game on Thanksgiving night, that is essentially 4 games.
Well, yeah.
That the Ravens otherwise have to make up because
Right.
you have to catch them and then pass them in the standings because they'll hold the tiebreaker.
Yeah, and to Mike, to your point, just to bring it up. I mean, Pittsburgh. You talk about the Ravens' next 3 games. Pittsburgh's got the Cowboys, the Bengals, and the Jaguars before they play the Ravens. I mean, they legitimately on Thanksgiving night, unless they just mess it up one of these next 3 weeks, and really, Joe Burrow and the Bengals is going to be the toughest part of that three-week matchup. Steelers are going to go into Thanksgiving night really with a great chance to be 10-0. I mean, how awesome is that going to be that we might have a chance to watch the Steelers-Ravens Thanksgiving night, really important football game. Steelers undefeated against their rivals. Man, I hope it actually plays out that way. I'm hoping for that.
And let me say this. If this was the Patriots in any year of the past 15, right?
Yeah.
With that remaining schedule,
Right.
we'd be talking about them going undefeated.
You're right.
Nobody's going to
They
talk about
would.
the Steelers going undefeated. But if it was the Patriots,
You're right.
Right?
Yeah.
Look at that schedule. Pull it up again.
Yeah.
Other than the Ravens game, Thanksgiving night, which is hardly an easy one. There is no game on there that screams out loss. Now, the Bills game, boy, the best 2 games left for the Steelers are on NBC. On Sunday Night Football against the Bills and Thanksgiving night against the Ravens.
Right.
But those are the only ones that make you pause. And based upon what we've seen the first 8 weeks of the season, you're not going to pause for long. You're going to say, yeah, it's going to be a tough game. They'll find a way to win it. Because once you do that 8 times, people start believing, yeah, they kind of know how to figure out how to win these games. And I think part of this has its roots in what happened last year. When you don't have your starting quarterback, and you still have that mentality of fight and scratch and claw and never give up.
Yeah.
And fight and scratch and claw and
Right.
never give up. And then you get Ben Roethlisberger back.
That's right.
Damn, that makes all the difference in the world.
Big Ben, Big Ben, Big Ben, Big Ben. We do got to give him some props before we move on to the next game. Just because, again, like Lamar, who played awesome, but, played by like his, pants were on fire, and it cost him with 4 turnovers. Big Ben did a great job of, let the game come to me here. I'm not going to mess it up. He understood what the rivalry's all about and how to play this football team, and that, it might not look pretty, but when we have our moment or when I have to, we'll step on the gas. And, their defense, of course, delivered for them, but that jump start at the start of the second half, they really figured out how they wanted to kind of short passing game. Oh, it's one-on-one. We'll take our shot downfield. They found their mojo there in the second half, too, to where, Big Ben, the next time he plays the Ravens, I think he's going to feel a lot better about it, to where their offense can go into that matchup going, I think we know how to attack them a little bit better. We know what to do. We know the feel, the size, everything about them, too, to where, hey, I got to give Big Ben credit. Year off from football. He's gotten better every week. And even though yesterday wasn't beautiful, it was still really good. And he didn't mess the game up, which is what most quarterbacks do against the Ravens. And I think there's a lot to be said about that.
There was a minor elbow scare for Ben yesterday. He went down kind of awkwardly, and they were checking it out, but everything was fine. And Notre Dame receiver Chase Claypool is being spoiled as a rookie in the NFL. He tweeted, losing? Never heard of her.
That's great.
Yeah. Hey, it's something to come to the NFL and end up 7-0. And, hey, how about this? Avery Williamson, the Jets linebacker, traded to the Steelers to go from 0-8 to 7-0.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
Oh,
last
it
night?
happened last night. What were you doing? What were
watching
you doing?
football.
Where were you?
Watching football. I don't know. I did not know.
You got to crack open Twitter once in a while. Avery Williamson traded
That's
to the Steelers.
That's a good trade for the Steelers. That really is. He's still a good player, and, that gives him another stud inside in that 3-4 defense. Wow, that was really good job.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.